This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, we started discussing about Azure backup since yesterday, and we talked about how we used to have the backup in on-premises, like a 3-to-1 rule, where we used to have 3 backups stored in 2 different medium at least, and then 1 copy stored offsite. Okay, so we have got multiple different solutions in Azure platform. Okay, Microsoft Azure has got various options, and we started seeing the backup getting stored in a backup vault and then RS vault, and then we also saw how to manage it using Microsoft Azure Backup Center. Okay, so we primarily talked about these different options. Microsoft Azure Recovery Services Agent, we saw how to take VM complete backup, and then we saw how to take the file share backup. So these are the 3 options which we primarily looked at. And besides that, we also saw how to take backup of your Azure blob storage or the blob container. So here, there are some limitations. We added a backup for your on-premises server, like a virtual machine, to take the contents of files and folders. There were some limitations, like it had only 3 backup options per day, and then it does not have any specific options related to Linux, right? It only supported Windows Server and Windows Client, and it does not support anything else beyond the system state and the files and folders. So if you want to take application backup like Microsoft Exchange or SharePoint or any other application, you need to go with either Microsoft Azure Backup Server, which is an enterprise product, and System Center DPM. These 2 products are from Microsoft. Only difference is Azure Backup Server is purpose built for cloud native, whereas it doesn't have support for tape backup. So this is something which I told yesterday also. And here the only caveat with all these tools is we don't have support for Oracle workload yet. Okay, besides that, we have solution or we have option to take backup of every other workload. So we saw how to take the backup yesterday. Maybe I can walk you through quickly on how to look at those logs. Okay, so we configured backup for file shares and blob containers. And using this backup vault, we took backup of a few things yesterday. So let me click on show you this. So using Azure Backup Vault, you have support for Azure Disk, Azure Blob. We saw these 2 options yesterday, and database I'll show you later. Okay, and here, if I go to my backup jobs, we can find out like what were the backups that got completed yesterday. So here we don't have any data source backup for database for Postgres, but then we took disk backup, and we also took backup for Azure blobs. Okay, but then here the resource group is limited to my own resource group. I don't want to limit that. I want to check out for all the options. Let's see. Let's go and look at the backup instances. Okay, so here we can see that we have configured backup for your Azure Disk, and then we have configured backup for Azure Blobs and Azure Disk, both of them. Okay, the protection is configured. So we saw how to do all these things, and we can also go and look at the other option, which is Recovery Services Vault. So here, after creating Recovery Services Vault, we configured backup for a couple of areas, like we took backup for Azure virtual machine, the complete VM backup. And we also installed Microsoft Azure Recovery Services Agent on one of the machine, and we started taking files and folders backup. That is where we completed the session yesterday, right? We saw how to mount that particular file system within the OS and how to copy that data. And similarly, we also saw how to take backup of Azure file share, and also we restored that. And let me show you that if in case it is still there. Okay, let's go to the storage account. Okay, we created this, and this is where I think we restored it within the same file share. So we restored it here, right? This is what we took the backup and restored yesterday with a name restored restore underscore some date and time. So you can do it anytime. It's pretty straightforward. Any backup that you have taken, if you want to restore it, just go to that backup content. For example, file share, go to the backup items, click on the items that you want to restore, select this, and then go and click on this three options or three dot here, and then click on file recovery or restore share. You can restore the entire share. We restored the entire share yesterday. You can also go and do a file level recovery. You can select which one you want to restore from the list of files. So I can go and select the yesterday's backup, and here I can also go and restore it in an alternate location, and I can just select where I want to restore it. I can give it a name. Okay, I can just give it a restore underscore 4 December 2022, and I can select which files I want to restore. There is a limitation, like you can recover maximum of 99 folders or 99 files at a time, but you can do a selective restore also. If I want to just restore only 123.txt and index.html, I can also do a selective restore. So it's not that you have to completely restore the entire share. You can also do a file level recovery, number one. And let that happen. Okay. And while that is happening, see, it will first go and create a folder within your storage account. You will start seeing a new folder getting created in your file share. So you should start seeing it here. Yeah, so it is getting created, and you should start seeing the content that we have restored. So from here, you can take a backup, or you can just copy it to whatever location you want to. Okay, so that is one thing. And if you want to recover the complete virtual machine, so I think we had one virtual machine and I have deleted it. Okay, but that's fine. I can show you how to recover it or how to restore it from the scratch. Go to your recovery services vault. For any restore, you can directly go and check what kind of recovery we have done in the past. Okay, you can just scroll down. You can just go and click the backup jobs. Here you can find out what are the different backup we have done and also what we have restored also. It is not just about the backups alone. Both backup and the restore option will be under the backup jobs. Any log that you want to find, or if you want to export all the logs that you have accumulated, you can go and click on this export log. And if you want to add any additional column, you can remove the columns and stuff, and then you can take a backup report from here. So if you want to look at the completion of the backup and the restoration, you can just go and find it under the backup jobs. This is where you find the logs. But if you want to have detailed logs, I'll show you how to do that. But for now, I'll show you how to go and recover the entire virtual machine. Go to the Azure virtual machine here and click on the same option. You have the option to do a file level recovery. Again, you have the option to do a restore VM also. So this time I'll just go and do an entire VM restore. So it will ask me like at which point you want to restore. So here, if you look at, this is application consistent. When you take a backup of a virtual machine, when it is running, you will be able to take a application consistent backup. But when the machine is powered off, or if you are taking it when the VM is offline, then you will have a crash consistent backup. And if you're taking a backup of your file system or Linux systems and all those things, you will have a file system backup. So the backup that we took yesterday, it was while it was running, it took an application consistent backup. So when I go and restore this VM, it will have complete application running state and all the virtual memory content and so on. So this is an application consistent backup. And when the VM is turned off, you will only get a crash consistent backup. So you will have to go and restore it and then power it on. So here, if you look at, there are two options. See, when your backup is on the snapshot tier and the vault tier, though we selected this option, right? We want to have the backups for at least one day. So let me click on this restoration, and I'll show you how to look at those options. I explained it yesterday, but still I'll recap it. So it is asking me whether I want to replace the existing virtual machine or create a new virtual machine. So I'll go and create a new one. Okay, I can give it any name. If you want to give the same name, you can give it. Whatever the name it was used, it is stan VM1, right? I'll just give it a name stan VM02 instead of 01. And I can select which network I want to have this, which subnet I want to have this, and then I can also have a staging location. The staging location is mainly for copying the rest. While restoring the content, you need some space for buffer. right? That is what we call it as staging location. You can create a new account or you can use any existing storage account. Now I'll go and restore it. Okay, while this restoration is happening, while the VM is getting recovered, okay, let me duplicate the screen. I don't want to mess up with this particular task. I'll just go with the new screen. Here, when we triggered the backup, we had an option where you can have the backup for a particular number of days in your snapshot tier. See, if you have not selected that option, then that option which we saw will not be available. See, when we go and take a Azure virtual machine backup, you have the policy, and within this policy you have a option called instant restore. Okay, so this instant restore is what is helping us to go and quickly recover the VM. If we have not enabled it and if you have not selected this for 2 days, you will not be able to do an instant restore. You will have to wait for few minutes, and then only you will get an option to restore it from the vault tier. Vault tier is the long-term storage, or the what do you call it, is the actual archive tier. Whereas if you have it on your snapshot tier, which is the instant restore option, will be available, where you can go and quickly recover the VM or restore the VM for the particular number of days where you have it on the snapshot tier. There are two different tiers actually, snapshot tier and vault tier. So in your snapshot tier, if you're going with standard policy, you can have it up to 5 days, from minimum 1 day to maximum 5 days. If you are having an enhanced policy, you can have it up to 30 days in your snapshot tier, which is nothing but the operational tier. So what is the advantage of having it on operational tier or snapshot tier? You can do a quick instant restore. You don't have to wait for retrieval or recovery. If there is an issue and the customer is asking for immediate restoration of the VM from the backup, you can do it. And for how long? You can restore it for last 30 days. Similarly, if you have it on your vault tier, that will take some time, but then you will be able to recover it based on the um, time interval. Okay, so cancel it. This is what I just want to quickly show you. So the backup should start here. So we should start seeing the recovery. You can also see the details here when the specific backup and the restoration happened on this VM. Okay, so this particular console is specific to that VM, and any alerts or events specific to this particular VM, you can click on the view jobs and you will be able to see that the restoration has started, and it took around 2 minutes to complete the restoration. So the restore VM is just done at 5:48 20 seconds. We started it and it got completed by now. So that is fine. Okay, and similarly, if you want to look at any alerts, like any failures or anything, you can also one second, you can also look at this option, and then you can just a second, yeah, you can go through those details. And now, if you want to change the policy, or if you want to modify that, you still have the option. You can go and do it. You have the policy option here, and you can also look at whether we have this particular date backup on snapshot tier. If you have it on snapshot tier, then you have the option to go and recover it immediately, restore it immediately. Okay, so if it is only on vault standard tier, after 5 days in your standard policy, the backup on this particular date, the 3rd December backup, will only be available on vault standard after 5 days, and until 5 days you'll be having it on both snapshot tier and vault tier. So that is the meaning of that operational tier and the other vault tier. Okay, so this is how you go and recover it, restore it. And if you want to have some more backup, see, yesterday I told you I'll show you how to do a backup of Amazon virtual machine, right? I can also quickly show that. Okay, that should not take a lot of time. It's pretty straightforward. I think we created a VM, but then we did not do anything yesterday. Okay, it is still here. Okay, I did not even power it off. Okay, let me go and log into that VM. I'm just logging in for the first time on that particular VM. Okay, even I have not generated the password. Let me go and generate the password. Go and connect. Click on RDP client. Generate the password. go and upload the private key which you have created yesterday, and then decrypt the password, copy the password, keep it for your reference. Also enter it for the logging in here. Perfect. Okay, let that log in on the back end while that is happening. So yesterday we added one machine already. We installed the agent, Mars agent, and I showed you how to do the backup. But yeah, so we'll just quickly see that on AWS VM also. Meanwhile, okay, SQL we'll cover it later. And these two options are the enterprise options, Microsoft Azure Backup Server, and this one is the Data Protection Manager. SAP will deal that later. We don't have to spend time now. Okay, so anything related to your backup, you can directly come and look at all the details like alerts, the backup job, and even we added one machine yesterday, right? Where we can find that. If you go to the backup, and you can also find it here. Okay, if you click on this, you will be able to see which VM files and folders we are taking backup and what is the drive. And we already saw how to restore it yesterday. But if you want to look at some more details, go to backup infrastructure. And here under the protected servers, you will be able to see which VM is backed up using this particular recovery services vault. You will also see that here also. The same stan VM1 and then what is the agent and all those things. So now I'm logged into my, okay, not yet, huh? Okay, it's going on. So it has got the default name from EC to Amazon. Let it be with the default name. It doesn't matter. You don't have to change the name. I'll just show you how to take the backup of AWS virtual machine contents. This procedure is the same for your on-premises or any other VMs, that is non-Azure VMs. You can just go and do it. For Azure VMs, you have the VM agent already pre-installed. You don't have to add any additional agent in order to do the backup. Okay, so let this log in. Okay, so I'll have to go and download the agent first. How do we do the download of the agent? You can directly go and search it on the internet for Mars agent, and you can download it, or else you have the option to do it the way that I'm going to show you. If you go to the recovery services vault, click on the vault, click on the backup option, and then go to the backup goal and then select what you want to do. You want to do on-premises VM backup, and then select what you want to take backup. And if you click on the prepare infrastructure, you will have the link for the latest agent. You can copy that link address and you can paste it on this machine where you want to download that agent and start installing it on that particular server. So meanwhile, I'll just go and disable the firewall and unwanted checks on that particular machine. Okay, let me go and paste the link here. Okay, it will directly download the Mars agent. Okay, let me close this. Okay, it is downloading the agent. Okay, you can see that it has started doing that. Okay, this VM is on AWS. Okay, so it is pretty slow because of the size and configuration. It has got only one CPU and 1 GB of RAM. I've just chosen the free tier category, so it will be slightly slower compared to your Azure VM, because in Azure we used to work with higher size VM. So I'm installing the agent either ways. So it is getting installed. Meanwhile, I can just go and disable some of the settings here. It's pretty straightforward. We did the same exercise yesterday. I showed you for Azure VM, but now I'm just going to do it for an EC2 instance, which is residing on Amazon data center. Okay, yeah, go with the default, go with the default. As I'll just go with that and then install it. Okay, let that go. Okay, here I'll just disable the firewall just for my, okay, I just don't want to have any restrictions blocking any ports. Okay, now going back here, I'll just close these things. I'll also turn off enhanced memory, sorry, enhanced security. Okay, so close it, let that complete. So we already discussed about a couple of important points, right? We need to have at least 5% of the capacity as a free space while you are doing backup on your caching location. And also we saw how, I mean, we should have at least 1 GB of free space where you are installing this Microsoft Azure Recovery Services agent. This is the Mars agent. Using this Mars agent, you can only take backup of files, folders, and system state. It is not available for Linux. It is not available for any application specific backup. When I say application specific backup, like taking a backup of Exchange mailboxes or SharePoint folders and all those things are not available. It is just only files and folders and system state. Okay, fine. Let this get completed. It asks us to please wait. Okay, so I have to download this credential vault. In order to register that VM, I need to have this credential. I'll download it and then keep it ready for registering it. I'll just copy this credential. For each machine, you'll have an unique credential given. You can also have the same credential used for multiple machines also. But then I have deleted that other VM yesterday. Okay, just minimize this. Okay, it is asking for registration now. Okay, let me paste that credential here and then I'll go with registering this VM for enabling backup. Okay, let it respond. Yeah. So also we discussed about two important options. You can do a online data transfer and you can also do a offline data transfer. I'll talk about the offline data transfer options in details today. So we did the online transfer method yesterday. Even if you want to if you want to go with the offline method, I'll show you how to do that. What is the procedure involved? So now I have to point that particular credential key, and within this credential, what is there? It has got the location, the region, the recovery services vault, which we are trying to connect this virtual machine to, and it will just confirm whether we are good to connect. Okay, it is validating the credential and it will allow us to register. Okay, this is valid only for 10 days. Okay, you can see that it has got expiry date of 10 days. You can go and download one more key if in case you have not registered it within that 10 days. Okay, you can generate a passphrase. We did that yesterday also. And you should have this key in a different machine, but then here I'll just have it here. Finish. Do you want to copy? You have selected the location, that's fine. Okay, let the registration happen. So what is the name of this machine? It will always start with EC2 because it is a EC2 machine, and we can also go and check whether this machine is listed in Microsoft Azure backup vault, or sorry, the recovery services vault backup location. Host name. You can also see the host name in the rightmost top here, EC2 Amazon-RSD84MB. So this is the VM. We'll have that verified once it is registered. So what this is doing, it is going to add the plugin on your Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Windows Server Backup. In Windows Server Backup, this will add an additional plugin and it will change that to Microsoft Azure Backup. So if you go to the start, you will start seeing a new option under the start menu. You'll start seeing a new one called Microsoft Azure Backup in a minute. Okay, while that is happening, we tried restoring one of the VM, right? Let's go and check that. So we have the stand VM2 up and running. Perfect, with all the same configurations. We'll also try and log into that VM and then verify whether we are able to log in and whether we are able to check that. Okay. So now this VM doesn't have a IP, public IP, but then I'll go and assign a public IP to that. If you have any unused public IP addresses, I'll just go and assign to that. So we have got one IP which we created for stan VM01. So how do I assign it to the new VM? I can just go and disassociate from the other VM which we deleted yesterday. And once after I disassociate it, this IP will be available for associating to any other VM. So this IP is still available with us. So I'll go and associate it, or else I can go and create a new public IP and attach it. Okay, either way it's fine. But to avoid any additional cost, I'm just using the free available IP address to that. So I can assign it to the network interface. I can select the VM. This is the new VM that we created, stan VM02. Okay. So now I've got the IP address which I can log into from my home network, the public IP address. Okay, meanwhile, what happened to the registration? Is it all done, or yeah, it is done. So I can just go and open that text file. I'll also copy that credential just for safer side. If in case I need it for some recovery purpose, I will have it in my machine. It's always good to have it in some other location also. So the passphrase is on the very first line. That is the 16 characters that has got generated. Okay, fine. Now I'll just close this. I'll just click on close so that it will launch the Microsoft Azure Recovery Services Agent. So it will open up the Microsoft Azure Backup. So you can see a new icon on your desktop. It has added Microsoft Azure Backup. So once after you open it, you have the same exact option like we had yesterday. We already took the backup. We also triggered an instant backup. We also saw how to go and include, exclude some of the folders, and we took a backup. Similarly, like I can go through that quickly. So it gives us option to go and take a system state backup and files and folders. So system state is on the top. And if you want to selectively take any specific files, I can just select that. I mean, just for an sample, okay? Nothing to worry about it. So you have three options. We saw that yesterday, and then I'll just ignore the other ones, weekly, monthly, yearly backups. Okay, I'll just have it only for a few days. Okay, otherwise it will not allow us to go and delete the content. Okay, I'll have the retention only for one day, but automatically it will change to 7 because the minimum is 7 actually. See, if I go back, okay, so it's allowing on. Okay, they'll see. So now these are the two options which I talked about. I'll explain little more details on the offline method. Okay, I'll do a online transfer now. Okay, fine, let it happen. Okay, so minimize it. And how about the connection to this VM? Now let's go and connect to the VM which we restored. Generally, we restore it with the same name and all those things. But anyway, so we'll go and check that. Okay, so did we associate it? Yeah, we associated it. And let us go and check that VM status here. Go to virtual machines, go to the VM. So public IP, yeah, it's here. Okay, but then let's also check the security group settings. Inbound, we should have that 3389 allowed. Oh, okay, see, interesting. It does not have any security groups associated. So we'll have to create a new security group and attach it. So how do we do that? Go to network security groups. So we already have one. Okay, we can do that. We can attach that, in fact. So click on this and then okay, inbound, go to the network interfaces and associate with the secondary network interface on the second VM, stan VM02. Click on OK. Yeah, now we have the inbound security rule, which allows RDP. Perfect. Now we should be able to connect. Click on OK and then click on connect. Yeah, it will take a minute to reflect. We just associated the network security group with the VM. Okay, we can go and double check that. Go to the VM and then check whether we are okay. Yeah, IP is correct. The security group is there now. It allows for the connection. Yeah, you can connect it from anywhere. Okay, now let's go and give it a try. Is this the correct IP? 20 ending with 181, 189. Yeah, correct. Yeah, it should not take so long. Yeah, it is working. Okay. The very first time after applying the rules, it will be a little slow, but afterwards, I think it will be much faster. See, even though we change the name on the outside, okay, on the virtual machine layer, so the restoration still have the old name certificate. It has got all the content which we had yesterday. Let's go and check that. Okay, let it complete. See, we are able to log into the VM, restored VM. Okay, it's taking some time. For the first time, it will be a little slow. And you can also go and check the name of the VM. Okay, host name. See, it has got the old name. Okay, this is all fine. Okay, so we have got the VM restored back. Okay, this is how you can do a entire virtual machine restoration. Okay, close these things. Now, what happened to my AWS VM? Is the backup is done? Yeah, backup is done, successful. Close it, and then yeah, if you want to go and take an instant backup, you can always do that. Okay, so just taking some time to close, allow us to close this. So you can trigger an instant backup here. Okay, let us also go and verify whether that new VM is visible in our recovery services listing. Go to recovery services vault, go to the VM, sorry, go to the vault, go to the backup items, and we should see account 2 now instead of 1. Perfect. Okay, so we have got 2 agents installed on 2 different virtual machines. See, we have got the EC2 Amazon Linux VM listed here. But yeah, the backup is still going on. It's successful, but it's slightly hung because of the capacity we have got. It's very low capacity. Okay, let that complete. Okay, but we are good here, so we are able to see it. You can also go and verify under the backup infrastructure. Here also you will be able to see the protected server list. Here also you should start seeing the number 2, and here also you should start seeing the second machine. Perfect. Okay, all good. We'll try to trigger a backup, and then I'll also show you that. So now we talked about online backup, and we also have an option for, I mean, I'll try to recover that file from yesterday. I'll have it for my recoveries. Now, there is an online backup transfer method from your on-premises or from other cloud. We also have an offline method. Okay, what is that offline method? See, if you don't have offline backup method, so if we don't have enough internet bandwidth, and if we have lot of data to transfer, we can go with this offline method. What are the offline method? The basic one, Microsoft gives you Azure data disks, and also you can use your own data disks to copy the data. But Microsoft Azure has got some recommendations, like it should support encryption, it should support some some kind of encryption and so on. Only then they will be allowing you to use that disk. But then these disks will have limitation, right? So if you go and check Azure Data Disk, so I'll show you how it looks like. So it is a regular SSD disk. Okay, it will look like this. So they will send across this particular disk to your location, and using this disk, you will be able to take a copy of all your content in that disk by connecting it via USB, and then you will be able to transfer it to them. Okay, how do we request these disks from Microsoft? Go to your login here, go and click on Azure Data Family. So you can click on this Azure Data box. It will automatically take us to a screen where you can request for Azure Data box. Click Create Azure Data box request, and they will ask you some details like from where you want to transfer, whether you want to import it to Azure or whether you want the data back from Azure. So you can do either import or export from Microsoft. And it is asking us from which resource group. I can select my resource group. I can select which country I want to do it. If you want to do it in United States, you can select that, or if you want to do it in India, you can select that. And they can also do the transfer to a different region also. Okay, so I can just say United States again. So they are asking from which region to which region. Okay, so here I will select the Azure region. This is Azure region, and this is the country, physical country and the region. So here I'm going to import it into Azure from my data center to Azure region. So I'll select East US, and if I click on apply, it will ask for some of the details. Okay, it is asking me how much data I've got to transfer. Whether I've got 35 terabyte, then they will send the data box disk. And if I've got 80 terabyte and plus, they'll, I mean 80 terabytes and less, they will give you data box. Data box heavy is for 800 terabyte. How it looks like? So it will look like this. Azure Data Box. It is a kind of server kind of box which will have disk internal to that, and this will have capacity of up to 80 terabyte. And how does this Azure Data Box heavy looks like? It will have a trolley kind of thing, and they will send this kind of thing. It will support up to 800 terabytes of capacity. These are all very good purpose built machines. Even you have got Azure Data Box Edge. This is like a server kind of thing. It's a rack server. You can mount this rack server on your data center and you can copy the data. Okay, they've got 4 different solutions. This is mainly to copy the data from your on-premises to Azure data center. Okay, so yeah, so this is how you also can go and connect it. If you look at the Azure Data Box, it will have a backend connection option. You can go and connect the data cable, the RJ45 cable, the port is there, and you can connect the power, and you can connect the management port and the data port, where you can assign an IP address to this data box on your data center IP range, and then you can copy the content using the data ports. There are 3 different data ports which you can use for copying the data. Okay, now if I go and look at here, I've got these option, and based on your capacity, you can go and select it. Now you can also go and look at the pricing for ordering these different things. So if it is only 1 terabyte and content, you can also send up to 10 disk per order to Microsoft. If you are sending your own disk, you can also do that. This is import export job using your own disk. Okay, so you can have up to 10 disks per order, and it supports both SATA and SSD disks. And you can also send it across to Azure Blob Storage and Azure File Storage. Okay, and the destination has to be only one storage account. Even though it is 10 disk, you'll have to have separate requests for separate storage account, and the handling fees is 5,000 Indian rupees per disk. Okay, so there is a cost associated with handling your disk, but then if you are ordering the disk from Microsoft and if you're ordering the device from Microsoft, then there is a pricing for the device, and the handling price will be little less. But if you are sending your own disk, then they have a fee for uh, per disk. If your disk is like 1 terabyte kind of thing, yeah, this is nominal price. Okay, so you can go and request for it, and then you can try and import as well as export from Microsoft Azure. So how do we decide which one is suitable for our requirement? So I'll help you with an option here. See, if you go to Microsoft Azure storage account, you will see an option called data migration. So now we want to migrate the data, right, from your on-premises data center to Azure region, or from Azure region to your on-premises data center. So click on this option and you will see some kind of reference here. So you will go and select what you want to do, whether you want to copy the backup for Azure blobs or Azure files or what, Azure VMs or whatever. So if you select a specific thing, you will get some scenarios, like you can either move data from one account to another account, or one subscription to another subscription. Maybe some acquisition has happened and we want to move some data, or if you are splitting your company and you want to move the data from one account to another subscription, or if you want to do something to a new resource group, or you are organizing, or you are upgrading from version 1 to version 2. So you can select what you are trying to do. So I'll say, like, I want to move the content to a new Azure region, just for an example. So it says go and use the storage account, or like browse the data option. So it gives me different tool set. Okay, so these are the different tool set through which you can copy the data. So I'll show you how to use the Azure Copy, Azure PowerShell. But for now, you have the option like Azure Data Factory, Azure Storage Explorer, Azure Data Box Disk. But then the capacity is here. Okay, 40 TB is the size of the Azure Data Box device, but 35 TB is usable after the formatting. So you got Azure Data Box Edge, which supports up to 1000 terabytes. So this one supports up to 800 terabyte, which is equivalent to 1 petabyte. Azure Data Box Heavy, and you got a gateway option. Okay, so you can also use Azure File Sync. We saw this option last Sunday. We tried replicating the content using that. So now, how do we select this? So you have to go and select the transfer scenario. Okay, and then I have to select whether I want to do a data migration using Azure Copy, or Azure Data Factory, or Azure Data Movement Library, and it will give you that specific option. And see, if I want to select other cloud object, so if I want to move other cloud objects to Azure, copy files from Amazon S3 to Azure Blob, then they will give you option for Azure Copy. AZ copy is the command line utility to copy the content from Amazon S3 to Azure Blob. Okay, there is a tool that Microsoft provides. I'll also show you how to use this tool. And this is very much similar to your robocopy. In on-premises, you might be using rsync for Linux, and then robocopy for Windows and all those things, right? So this is a command line data copying tool which Microsoft has developed purposefully for Microsoft Azure. I'll show you how to download it and install it. So anything, any data copy that you want to do, or any tools that you want to download, you always have to go to the Azure proprietary site and then download the official tools, not downloading from third-party site. You have to always download it from Microsoft Azure official site. What is the official site? Go to azure.microsoft.com/downloads. So this is the official site where you can download all the tools, SDKs, API from Microsoft. Okay, click on close, scroll down. What is the tool that I want to download? I want to download the Azure Copy tool. So Azure Copy tool is available for Windows and even for other operating system platform like Linux or Mac. I'll download it for Windows now. Okay, let this get downloaded. Yeah, it is downloaded. Okay, once it is downloaded, I can open it. So I'll install it on my machine. Okay, accept it. So this is a tool to copy the content from the command line or from the command prompt. Okay, once after it is installed, you can just go and open up the command prompt, or PowerShell also is fine, but I'll just show you the command prompt. Okay, A is it copy. Okay, so what happens is, like in sometimes, like when you install a tool, it will be available here, but then the environment variable might not be set properly. Okay, how do we set the environment variable? Go to your system settings, and then add where exactly this particular, no, not here, just go and type environment variable. Okay, here you have to add where exactly your Azure copy is located. It is located in C program files, Microsoft SDK, Azure AZ copy. Just go to the environment variable and add that particular path to your, okay, click on edit, and then you can add that particular line, or you can just add a new line. Okay, let me copy this path. Okay, now after I reopen the command prompt, I should be able to run the AZ copy from any location. But for now, I'll just run it from here. See this machine, again, I have limited access to that account. I cannot, I mean, if it is asking me for credential, I'll have to look upon for his help. Oh, okay, I think I can do it because like it will ask source key, destination key, and I can copy it. So this is the tool. Okay, AZ copy. I need to just give the source location and destination location, and I'll be able to copy the data. Okay, I'll come to this again, but for now, let me minimize it. It is a pretty straightforward tool. But if I want to move the data from local on-premises to Azure data center, to either Azure file share or Azure blob, then now they will ask us little more questions. They'll ask like how much data size are you trying to copy? 1 terabyte or 5 petabyte or 1 petabyte? If I say 1 petabyte, obviously we know the answer that they are going to recommend which one, Azure Data Box Heavy or Azure Data Box Edge, right? So let me go and select. I've got very less bandwidth. If I say I just got only 45 Mbps or 100 Mbps, definitely they will say no, it is not going to work out with any of the other device. So they are giving us data box, and they are also giving us data box heavy option. Okay, and if I just select, I've got only 50 terabyte. Now they will give me option for Azure Copy and Azure PowerShell, Azure Data Factory, Azure Command Line, Azure Storage Explorer. They are giving me enough options here. But if I go and say I just got only, sorry, if I just say only I've got upload to Azure Blobs, I've got 100 terabyte, and I've got very less 45 Mbps, and then I want to transfer it once, it'll give me Azure data box disk also this time, because I've selected very less capacity. They are giving this option also. So as an architect, you can decide based on your size, the capacity network you have got, and whether you want to do it one time backup or one time data copy, or you want to do it on a recurrent weekend or a recurrent basis on a daily basis. So based on the transfer frequency, Microsoft gives you suggestions on what is the better migration tool or the migration method solution that you can go and opt for. So they are giving you the suggestions here, and based on that, you can choose which one is best for your scenario which you have selected. Okay, you have the source, you have the destination, you have the transfer scenario, and you can go and choose the best fit for your transfer requirement. Okay, so that is that, and let's go and quickly check what happened to this machine. This AWS is now hung, I guess, because of the size of the VM. It's pretty small one. Okay, let me try to close and reopen it. But otherwise, like we saw how to add it, it is now already visible on our Azure platform. It doesn't give me any option at all. So here it is. Okay. Close window. Okay, fine. Let me do one thing. I'll log out and log in back. It doesn't find that. Huh? Okay, let me just go and sign out. Okay, just for I don't have option to close that. I should have got that under the task manager. Even task manager doesn't give me that. Okay, so okay, let me log in back again. copy the instance. This is the password. Okay. Okay, now I'll show you how to quickly, I mean, we already tried that. Okay, we did the same exact thing yesterday, but I'll just quickly show one more time on how to take a instant backup, and then we'll close this option. Any questions on the data migration tool options or anything that you want to really understand more on the specific things? Okay, now I can just go and click backup now, which will trigger an instant backup. Okay, I can store only the content until December. Today is December 4. I just want to delete the data tomorrow. Retain only until 5/12. This is the retention. I'll just take the backup. Okay, I also explained about the network throttling option that you have got on that last screen. You can go and select how much capacity in terms of network bandwidth you can use during the production hours and during the non-business hours. So now the snapshot is getting taken, and then it will copy the backup to cloud, to Azure cloud. Okay. So any other questions on the topics that we have covered since yesterday on the backup? You want to look at any specific options, or you want to have, I mean, we'll see the database backup during our database session next week or next to next week. Okay, so only database backup we have not seen. Otherwise, we have seen how to take backup of Azure file shares. We saw how to take backup of Azure disks. We saw how to take backup of Azure virtual machines. We saw how to take backup of Azure blob containers. And then we saw how to take backup of files and folders from non-Azure VM. Okay, that is what we are seeing now. Okay, so these are the options that we have seen, and we have also tried restoring a couple of things like Azure VM and Azure file share. Okay, yeah. So this is the option that we have, where we have installed the Mars agent, and we have installed the agent, and we have tried taking the files and folders backup. So the Azure SQL DB backup or the database backups like SAP HANA or all those things we can see later, but this is like database backup. We have not seen it. Okay, we'll see the database backup later. Okay, now there might be some interesting questions on how generally the backup works in most of these cases. For example, if I'm taking Azure VM backup or some kind of data backup, by default, the first backup is full backup and the subsequent backups are always incremental backup. And Microsoft is giving you backup as a service here, right? We are not installing any tools or stuff on all these options. But if you're going for Microsoft Azure Backup Server or ACDPM, then you have a lot of options on how to deal with the tool, and then the tool will give you a lot of other options like differential backup and then other backups. But now using the backup as a service, by default the very first backup is always full backup and the subsequent backups are always incremental. And since it is backup as a service, even the restoration is handled by Microsoft automatically. See, if you want to restore a particular date, for example, if I want to restore backup from um, 1st December, for an example, automatically Microsoft will select the first full backup and then the additional subsequent incremental backups, and then they will recover it for us. You don't have to go and manually restore the full backup, and then you don't have to do one by one. Microsoft does the restoration also on your behalf. So they accumulate the contents from those date and then they will do it for you. So the first backup is full and then all the other subsequent backups are incremental backup. And this is like again file level backup. This is also disk level, and this is complete image level backup, VM level backup. And this backup, it is happening at the fabric level, meaning it doesn't come and take any content from within the OS. It takes a complete VM image level backup, and it takes it from the storage itself, from the SAN fabric itself. So the content, the VM is definitely stored on a SAN storage, right? Microsoft Azure takes the backup directly from the SAN storage, SAN fabric. They don't come and tamper your, I mean, they don't come and overload your virtual machine performance or whatsoever. So now, if you are doing it on Azure workload, no agent, no additional tool sets are needed. But if you are taking backup from non-Azure VM, or if you want to take backup of files and folders or system state, then you definitely need the agent because of the permission that you need to have from within your operating system. So for which you download the Mars agent, you install the agent, and you have the console where you can use that Microsoft Azure backup to take the backup of your files and folders and system state. And when you need it for recovery, you can mount it, and then you can restore those. Okay, so this is what I just thought of sharing. Okay, let me. Any other specific questions on this? Okay, fine. I'll take that silence as no. Okay, so the backup is now complete. At least this time it shows job completed. So if I want to recover it, we already saw that yesterday, right? Just click on this Microsoft Azure backup. You have the option to go and click the restore, and then it will get mounted as a separate new drive on your machine, and it will be available for 7 days maximum. You can copy the data before that date. If you go and click on recover data, you can recover it on the same server or another server. If you are doing it the same server, it will. Okay, so select this, and you can select the date and time, mount it. So it will get mounted as a new drive on your machine, and you can copy the data within a maximum of 7 days. Here it will be listed as a separate drive now. Okay, fine. This is how it works. Okay, so with that, let's also see a couple of other scenarios. So we have a complete entire weekend where we discuss on complete migration. When I say migration, we will see how to migrate a server from non-Azure platform like your AWS platform to Azure platform. What are the different stages, or what are the different phases involved, like discovery, assessment, and then we'll go through each and every steps, and we will migrate that VM. So we have a separate weekend session for complete migration. But if you want to just enable the site recovery and practice it, it is pretty straightforward. You can also try that. See, this recovery services vault, it can house both backup content and the replicated content. When I say replicated content, if you want to have a disaster recovery enabled between two different regions within Azure, you can easily do it within 2 or 3 clicks. Okay, how do I do that? So click on enable site recovery. It will ask me from where to where you want to replicate, whether you want to do it from on-premises VMware to Azure or Hyper-V to Azure. So we'll see these options next week. But if you want to do it within Azure Virtual Machine, it is pretty straightforward. You don't have to have any other extra infrastructure. It's just matter of clicking enable replication, and you will be able to replicate your virtual machine from one region to another region within Azure platform. See, it is asking me what you want to do, whether you want to enable disaster recovery between availability zone. So if you want to do that, yes. Or if you want to do it between region, then select this as no. Move on to the next screen. It will ask us which VM you want to do it. I want to do it for this VM. Click on next, and it'll ask us like what is the destination you want to replicate it to. It is asking us which region, whether I want to do it for West US or UK or India or whatever location. You can replicate to the region of your choice. There is no restrictions on that. But if I want to do it within the US, I can select the target location, and then it'll ask like what are the network and subnet on the destination location, and you can also select which storage you want to use for replication, and then complete it. It is pretty straightforward. Okay, so I'll show you a similar step on the next week, where you will see how to replicate it from one one cloud, I mean AWS to Azure, and also we'll go through the steps involved in how to replicate from VMware to Azure and so on. So here I've got very less cost left for this month. Okay, it has got only 350 rupees credit. Okay, so if I trigger this replication, it will consume today itself, and even it might catch up all my remaining balance within this replication. Okay, but I'll show you this completely next week. So we have a full week discussing about site recovery, disaster recovery, and then we'll see how to do a migration from non-Azure to Azure platform. Okay, so that is something we'll see, but backup, so these are the things that you need to be aware of when it comes to backup in Azure platform. What happened here? Is it all done? Yeah, so you have it here. You can go and restore. Okay, we selected which one? We selected the boot volume, right? So definitely it will have some issues, but yeah, that's fine. But you can see that it has mounted as a separate new drive, and you can copy the content from here. And after you copy it, you can do a unmount. Yesterday we saw that, but then I just want to show you that here. And the very important thing, you need to go and deregister all these things properly, or else you will not be able to do anything. See, how do I do that? You have to go to your infrastructure here, go to backup infrastructure, go to the protected server, and from here you need to deregister all the systems. Otherwise, you will not be able to delete the recovery services vault. So I'll show you how to do that deregistration. Open this, and then here you have to click on delete. Okay, it says like what is the VM name? I can just give the server name, and I can just say it is asking for dot to confirm. Okay, you have to add a dot at the very end. That is what they have got here. Okay, reason, I have decommissioned the server, and I can give some comment. The server is decommissioned. So there is a backup data items associated with the thing. Okay, and it says it will permanently delete. That's fine. Okay, I'll go and delete it. Okay, we have selected 1 day retention. Maybe it will throw some error because of the conflicting. Okay, it's done. Okay, perfect. Okay, so similarly, I can just go and clean up the other server. So you have to do this. Otherwise, the backup will continuously run every evening based on your schedule, and you will end up paying cost for it. Okay, let's try this also, and then we'll clean up properly so that we don't end up paying anything for today. Decommissioned, decom. Okay, delete. Okay, similarly, we will go and remove that other protections that you have got here. Go to the backup items. We have got what is left. So we have got Azure storage file share. We'll go and remove that also. Go to the 3 options here. Stop the backup first. We have got a schedule for 7 p.m. today also. I'll delete the backup data also. What is the backup item name? File share 01. Select the reason. I'll say I'll say others. I'll say decommissioned. Okay, stop backup first and then delete the data. Automatically, the data associated with this particular file share will also get deleted while we are stopping the backup. Similarly, go and do the same for your Azure virtual machine. So go and stop the backup first. And it will ask whether you want to retain the data. No, I want to delete the data. What is the name of the VM? Select the VM. Reason is it is others, and I have deleted decommissioned, and then stop the backup. While stopping, it will also delete the backup data. Okay, this is the proper way of cleaning up all the backups that we have practiced. So you can also go and delete the policies that you have created. We have created a couple of policies, one for file share, one for on-premises, and we created these policies. This one, with the name with file backup, file share backup, Stan, Azure VM backup. So you can go and delete these if you want to. Okay, I can just delete this one. So policies and all, it's not going to cost you anything, but still as a good practice, you can go and delete them so that you don't have unnecessary content here. Similarly, go to your backup vault. There also you can go and delete the backups that you have configured. Go here, select the backup instances, go and select what you have got backup. So you got one Azure disk backup. So go and select this. Protection is configured. Go and delete it. So first stop the backup. So it will ask me whether you want to retain the backup. No, I want to delete it. I don't want to retain it. I want to delete the backup of this disk. Okay, same procedure. Okay, only thing is like the vault is different. Decom, stop backup, confirm, and then delete it. Same is applicable for your Azure blobs. Delete. Backup instance name, copy paste, reason others, decom, delete. Done. Okay, we are all good. Now we can go and delete the backup vault also once we are done with cleanup. So anything you want to go and look at in an advanced level, so you have something called log analytics workspace. Okay, so here you will be able to find out what has happened, but we have not created any log analytics workspace during the logging class. I'll explain how to create a log analytics workspace and how to collect all the logs from different products like Azure Backup and other tools, and then I'll show you how to use that tool effectively. But now I'll just go and delete this backup vault. Okay, this is the one. Now everything is cleaned up. Now I have the option to go and delete it. Okay, deleting the vault. Done. Okay, so what else? Azure Data Box. Okay, we'll also see a particular small new topic today, and then we'll check up. Okay, just close this. Okay, there is a tool called Trusted Advisor from Microsoft. Okay, so this tool is a very powerful tool. See, when you are part of the operations team or when you are part of the systems administration or you are doing a role like a solutions architect, customer will expect you to provide some kind of recommendation on how to have their environment in a better state. Okay, so as an advisor, see, you can go and do whatever checks you want to do and then advise it, but customer from their standpoint, they generally look for advices on these areas: cost, how to reduce the cost; performance, how to enhance the performance; and then how to increase the high availability, and then how to have better stability and all those things, right? So here, if you go to this tool, advisor tool, it has got recommendation on all those 5 areas: cost, security, reliability, operational excellence, and performance. So if you go here, it will tell us like where exactly we are leaking cost. Okay, so now let me just reserve instances, no recommendation, active recommendation. Okay, so here it is not giving. Okay, let's see the list of cost. Okay, it will give us these options. If in case we have some virtual machines which is oversized or underutilized, it will tell us like which VM can be converted. It will also give you option to go and uh, tell you like which disks are unattached, and then it will look for only 30 days, more than 30 days. If there is a disk that is not attached for 30 days, it will tell us go and clean up that. So it will give you a lot of recommendations like this. Okay, so as of now, I don't have any machines or stuffs which are needed for cleanup, and it will also give you option for enhancing the security or improving the security. Okay, the last option is operational excellence. Okay, it will tell you like how you can do some activities, automation, and all those things. It gives you recommendations on these 5 different areas. Okay, some examples like how do we reduce the cost? So you can go and clean up unwanted resources like unwanted disks or unwanted files and all those things. Even if the VM is not utilized or if the VM is underutilized, you can also go and I mean they will give you recommendation. Go and change the size, instance size from a larger size to smaller size and so on. Similarly, it will give you the detached disks, IPs. I mean, when I say IPs, public IP. Public IP, if it is detached and not used, you will have to pay for it. And similarly, it will give you option to do a life cycle management. When I say life cycle management, so the data can be moved from hot to cold tier, and they will give you recommendation. If there are some data which are unused or if it is not being accessed for a longer duration, they will tell you like these data are infrequently accessed or very rarely accessed. You can move these data from this tier to the other tier so that you get a lot of cost savings and so on. So they will give a lot of cost recommendations. Similarly, like if there are some performance issues on some of the virtual machines or any specific Azure resources, they will give you option how to fix the performance issue, whether you can go and increase the instance size, or whether you can go and change it, change the network adapter, or whether you can go and enable accelerated networking and so on, right? So they will give you those recommendation, and you can go and follow the steps to fix that. Let's see if there is any recommendation on performance. Okay, we see some recommendation on operational excellence. See, they are giving you option. So as of now, I have not enabled monitoring for my recovery services vault. Okay, and they are saying like go and use the Azure monitor for your Azure recovery services vault so that you get better alerting for all the backups. So if I click on this, so it gives us step-by-step instruction on how to go and do that. Okay, it gives you recommended actions, so you can just go and follow along the steps here and then complete that activity. So it is not just recommendation alone, they give you screenshot of how to go and enable it, how to go and fix it step by step. So that is the beauty of recommendation here. They give you the step-by-step action document to do it. See, if you are an operations team and if customer is not okay to go and implement this, you can go and say postpone or dismiss. Dismiss means you are not going to do this anytime in the future. But if customer wants to do this after two months or after 1 month because of the current restriction or current change freeze, you can just say postpone, and you can mention how long you want to postpone it, whether you want to postpone it for a month or whether you want to postpone it by 1 day, and then you can click on 1 day. So the alert will get vanished from here, and after 1 day you will start seeing the alert. So you can also go and check which are the alerts that are postponed here. Okay, so it's not that it will go away from the active, it will go away from the active console, but it will be visible on the postponed thing. Okay, this is how you can go and take actions for all the recommendation. You can also add some notes mentioning that customer is not okay to resize it or increase the capacity because of budget or whatever reason. You can also go and add some notes for your reference. So this is a very powerful tool, and overall you can see the advisor score here. Okay, overall the advisor score is 100%. The reason is like there is nothing to do in this account. I have cleaned up everything, I have completely wiped out. But if I go to some other account or some other one of your account, maybe you will start seeing some of the recommendation on how to improve security, how to increase reliability, how to reduce the cost, how to have a better performance. All the recommendations will be available here. So you'll be able to see the score against each of the area. If the score is less for each of the area, you'll have to go and take actions on how to fix these things. So I've got only two recommendations. Reliability one. What is the reliability one? Okay, enable soft delete. See, I purposefully disable the soft delete to avoid any data getting stored in recycle bin, but Microsoft recommends to have a recycle bin option enabled so that if in case of any accidental deletion or accidental modification, you can go and quickly restore from the soft delete for your recovery services vault. But I did it to avoid cost leakage, but they have given that recommendation to have a reliable infrastructure. Go and enable the soft delete so that you can go and restore in case of any accidental deletion. So how do we do that? Click on that option. It will give us step by step recommended actions here with screenshot. Okay, it will tell us like go here, go do this, and then you can also do this. Okay, if you want to click on enable here, automatically it will enable on the recovery services vault. That also Microsoft does it. Okay, it's not like step-by-step instruction. Not only that, you also have the option to fix the issue from this console itself, from the advisor console itself. Okay, that is another interesting thing that they do. Okay, but if I enable it, Microsoft is going to get better revenue because they will have charges for your recycle bin also. It is not free of cost, but it gives you additional protection for your data that is getting stored on your recovery services vault. Okay, so these are the kind of things as an administrator, from an operation standpoint, you will have to be aware of the advisor tool. This is a very useful tool which you can use for on a day-to-day basis, or if you're meeting up with your customer. See, some as a senior person, if you are an SME or if you are a lead for a particular customer account, then every week or every month you will have a governance with the customer. Okay, during the governance, you can show them that the environment is clean from any recommendation, so there is nothing you can fix it. Or if there are some list of action items, you can talk to them, you can tell them that these things have to be taken care. If they give the approval, you can go and raise a change request and get that implemented based on the approval from the customer. So this is a regular routine part and parcel of your operations management or operations governance. Any questions from anyone on this tool? I don't know. For some reason today, even in the other batches, the strength is very less. Maybe today it was a auspicious day and a lot of um, functions and stuff lined up. Okay. Maybe I don't want to cover any extra topic just because of the lesser audience. Okay. So any questions on the backup and the trusted advisor? Is my audio okay?
Yeah, you're audible, Stan, and no
Yeah.
questions.
No questions. Okay, Kamala. So fine. I think next week we'll cover the deep dive migration and disaster recovery. That is a very important topic. I don't want to start with a new topic today. And yeah, see, I'm getting a lot of questions from people on how to access the content, right? See, if you go to my YouTube channel, okay, so go and search for Skill Up with Stan channel. Okay, and then here, if you go to my channel, always go to the playlist here, and under the playlist you have the option for complete Azure related things. If you want to find out migration related videos, you can go and check for migration related videos. And if you are specifically interested in Azure in English, you can check this. Or if you are interested only on administrator related activities, you can go and check this out. You have got around 10 videos there. But then whatever the content that we are um, covering in this class, we are uploading it into Azure October, latest English one, right? Where is that? Microsoft Azure, we have got too many. So here it is, Microsoft Azure October 2022. This is the batch content. I mean, the current batch contents are getting uploaded here. You can watch out here on this. But if in case you follow Tamil and Tamil language, you can also go and look out for Azure in Tamil. Here it is there. You have got 50 plus videos there. You can also listen to the same set of videos in Tamil language. And if you want, if you are already done with what we have discussed, and if you want to go and play the future sessions, you can also go and start looking at the sessions that we are going to cover as well in Microsoft Azure English. This is the old one. Okay, so if you are interested in other technologies like Kubernetes, VMware, Linux, what else, AWS, PowerShell, Terraform, you can also watch out for that in the playlist. Some of you are going to the videos list and then you are not able to find out. See, for example, if I go and open up the current one, Azure October 1, click on this playlist, and you will be able to see that day wise, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. There is no confusion in how to browse through this. You'll have it organized in day wise until yesterday. And I'll be uploading today's session right after this, and you will be able to play the specific day recording on this particular order. Okay, so you always go to the playlist section and then get it. You can go and watch it. Okay, so I think hope it's clear for everyone. And if you have questions, I'll be here for 3 more minutes. If you don't have questions, we'll catch up later. I'm just closing the session because of some specific special day today. I've seen a few messages that people are not available. Maybe like a lot of them are traveling and a lot of them are not available. If you don't have questions, please feel free to drop off. We'll catch up next weekend. I'll also stop the recording.